Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 11 of Direwolf20's ServerPlay series. I'm here in my base with large amounts of ethereal blooms that I need to clean up because I'm assuming somebody came by and made a giant mess of paint.
I think it's a fair assumption.
Right? Like, considering there's literally like a stack of ethereal blooms all around my base. I've already cleaned some up, let's put it that way. Like,
did you count? Is it actually a stack?
I'm gonna find out, like, when I finish breaking them.
If it's actually a stack, it'd be pretty funny. Like, someone just cheated in a stack, yes, screw it.
Oh no, people cheated in a stack. Look at those diamond chests behind my altar.
Alright. Oh, that's way more than a stack.
Yeah, those are 2 diamond chests worth of stacks. So, like, Thaumcraft was a little bit buggy for a bit. The gist that I got, like, you know how there's flux in the atmosphere, and then it, like, when there's too much flux in the atmosphere, it turns into taint and, like, you know, corrupts the land? I believe that's supposed to then reduce the flux in the atmosphere, right? Like, the land, like it coalesced into taint, and then the flux is gone, right? I think it wasn't going away. So it would keep, like, coalescing into taint and, like, completely wrecking the environment. And then, like, the flux was still there, so it would just start again. Like, it was as if it didn't. So it was bad. So people were having issues. And as a result, somebody decided to put a whole bunch of ethereal blooms in a chest so that anybody who had this weird issue with this bug didn't have to worry about that, because it was in fact a bug. But I think that bug has now been fixed. And also, people keep coming to my base. They're like, oh, Dyer's base, let's do Thaumcraft here. And then they're like, what's flux and taint mean? And then there's terribleness in my environment. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Oh, there's food in that chest, by the way, if you want some basket.
Oh, too late. I just stole some carrots.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like, the flux in this chunk is pretty bad. Somebody made a totem as well, which I kind of wanted to do totems on camera, but I'll probably just break it down and then do totems on camera, so you guys can see how they work and such. Also, I put my golem away because this chest is full, so he didn't need to do any more work. So Vasky's here. Hi, Vasky.
I'm being chased.
How are you?
I'm okay, alright, I guess.
So I suspect that because you're here, that means that we today are going to be looking at Psy. Am I pronouncing that right?
Not the Korean singer. We're not going to be doing any Gangnam Style here, don't worry.
Okay, cool. Am I pronouncing Psy correctly?
I mean, I usually pronounce it Psy, but I know a lot of people who also pronounce it Psy. I'm not sure. I'm not a pronunciation expert. By the way, there's zombies behind you.
Well, I'm clearly not a pronunciation expert, and people always yell at me for pronouncing things wrong. So.
Well, I have an excuse. I'm foreign.
Right. I'm not, though, so I don't have an excuse.
Right.
And people are like, Dyer, you pronounce it wrong, right? Like,
yeah,
classic XY craft, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I want is a CAD assembler. We're going to check out Psy.
Might want to show the C menu first.
All right, yeah, the C menu. So C is the only hotkey that exists in Psy?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't like spamming hotkeys. Like, we don't need six different enable tool hotkeys.
Correct, that's probably true. So to press C without having gone through anything in Psy yet is the way you get started. Let's find a spot to do some Psy work. I don't need a huge amount of space just yet.
You literally just need 2 blocks.
Yeah, maybe a couple more once I get more interesting things, but for now.
No, you literally just need 2 blocks.
That's right, because you have the new jump drive thing, right? Because before it would be meaningful to have multiple programmers, but probably not so much now.
Well, 3 blocks because I want a programmer for myself as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so Psy is a really cool mod. I've been playing with it a little bit off camera, and Vasky wanted to be here when I do it on Forgecraft for the first time. So to get started in Psy, first you make the CAD assembler, and I'm going to have a full-blown mod spotlight. So, like, you know, we're going to be playing with it today, but there will be, like, full-blown mod spotlight tutorial stuff coming up in the near future once Vasky says yes.
Also, please do not come to me and ask me when the mod is out. It'll be out when it's out. It'll be open sourced when it's out. Not yet. Wait a minute.
Out when it's out. You heard it here first, folks. So the first thing I want to do is create the Iron Cat assembly.
This random bitch is flying over here.
Is there one? I don't see. Oh yeah, look at that. So do you? Wow, I don't even see it unless I'm looking at it. Oh, okay, yeah, it's floating.
Yeah, I was just running and got stuck. I'm like, what?
Somebody's trolling me, I'm sure. So just the CAD assembly first, right?
Yeah, right now you don't have access to any other things yet.
Okay, so
there will be a recipe to scavenge the CAD that just has the assembly. It's not in yet, so you're gonna have to make 2.
Okay. I did it. I did a thing. So now when I press C, something different happens. So that help tutorial will be gone once you've crafted your first CAD assembly. So if you really want to read it...
No, the tutorial will be gone once you crafted Stylist.
Oh, okay. The first... Okay, cool. So now we just drop redstone on the ground and right-click it, right?
So you can drop as many as you want. It always costs the same. So if you want to make more than one, you can
hey, I leveled up. Unequip your CAD and press C to use it. So I'm going to make a bunch.
Yeah. Let me make some too so I can level up as well.
What's that?
Let me make some too so I can level up too.
Sure.
Just drop one, whatever. There you go.
Nice. I like it. All right, so unequip your CAD and press C to use it. All right.
You might have noticed the thing, you took damage there.
Yeah.
When you did that, right? That uses your psi energy. You didn't have any because you were level 0. So instead of using energy, it took damage. It's kind of like blood magic.
Gotcha.
If you go over your cap, you start taking damage.
I gotcha. Neat. All right, so we're going to go through the tutorial. So basically the way this mod works is there's a bunch of... It's almost like crafting spells, pretty much. And you get access to certain things as you progress through the tutorials, right? And there's, I guess, 12 levels at this point, and there's a couple level 5s, right? So in total, there's maybe like 15 in total-ish, 14?
No, there's 12 levels, but like if it says level 5, it means you can pick at a level 5.
Right.
But you can still pick them at a higher level.
Oh, okay.
So there's currently...
Oh, I see.
14 levels, but only unlocks up level 12.
Gotcha. So as you progress through the levels, you get actually different abilities that become unlocked. And you can use them to do all kinds of cool stuff. And like I said, full-blown mod spotlight coming once I understand it better and have a better way to explain it to you guys. But you get to see the fun stuff. So now that I've got this basic CAD, it's going to be uncraftable at some point, but not yet, right? So...
Yeah, there'll be a recipe to scavenge it. Oh, and since I know you're going to get this a lot in the comments, yes, the mod is definitely based on my hookup.
On what?
On my hook, it's a light novel series in an anime.
Cool.
Because every time I make a video on it, even though I said it the first time, they keep asking. And I know, like, you've suffered firsthand. There is the Terabyte from Terraria plague, so you'll probably suffer from this one as well.
Nice. Yep, so there you go. You heard it here first, folks. What is the mod based on? Something that
I said it already. 5,000 times.
Yes. Okay, I just want to get a chest.
Way too fast.
I know. I've got those awesome boots. I want to have a side chest over here, and I'm going to store my guns. So,
yeah, because you didn't have enough chests around the place.
I know. So now I'm going to want one of each type of item. So I'm going to want... Do I need a spell bullet too?
If you want to make a spell, yes.
Okay. So I want a spell bullet.
Oh,
that's right. That's what stores the spell. That's correct.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to want another...
You don't need the battery or the colorizer.
Okay.
Like, the battery is like... Remember if you go over your cap, you take damage?
Right.
The battery just adds a little bit of a buffer where you don't take damage.
Okay. And the colorizer, does that just color the gun?
It just colors the spells.
Okay. And I'm going to want sockets, right? But I don't have access to make the psi metal ingots yet.
No, but you can make the lower level ones.
Oh, cool. JEI added, so I can shift click. That's awesome. So I can make the basic CAD socket, and I need a CAD core, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Just make one of each. They're all pretty cheap.
Yeah, they are. So now I put these components all together, and we have different stats on our gun. So there's different stats that have different importances. Efficiency, is that basically how much psi you use when you cast your spell?
Yeah, it's like real life. Like you use 70%.
Okay. Potency means pretty much how strong the spell is when you cast it? roughly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Complexity
No,
is how
potency-
complex your spell can be.
Potency is how powerful your spell can be.
Okay, how
Like,
powerful
because your
it can
potency
be.
is 100 means you can make a spell up to potency 100.
Okay, so
You
that's
can
like a
make it
cap.
lower if you want. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll see that a little bit more once we actually get to the spellcrafter. Complexity is a cap on how complex the spell can be.
That's how many things you can have.
Right. Projection.
Projection is the amount of tricks you can have in a spell.
Okay, cool.
We'll
And
talk
then-
about that in a moment.
Bandwidth is
Bandwidth is the width or the height of the spell.
okay. Gotcha. In the
So
table,
if
right?
you have-
And then
if you have a
sockets is
bandwidth of
how
5,
many.
If you have a bandwidth of 5, that means you can only go up to 5 by 5.
Right. And then sockets is how many spells you can have in your gun at a time.
Yes. And overflow is how much of a buffer you have in your battery. You don't have a battery, so it's 0.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm going to cast that, and you'll notice now when I hold C, there's 4 corners here because I've got that number was 4. And when I put the CAD in the table here, you'll notice there's 4 slots that are unlocked. So we're going to be able to put 4 different spells in this CAD thing. And there's better CADs, and there's better batteries, and there's better sockets, and there's better cores that allow you to have different traits, right? So more complexity, more projection, a little less complexity, but more projection, that kind of stuff. So different stats that we'll all get into as we take a look at things. But I guess the next thing I want to make is a spell table, right?
Make 2 programmers, please, because they're locked per player.
Okay. I need more iron. So these are player locked, meaning players can't walk up and interact with.
Well, like they're player locked as long as one player is using it. So if you're in the middle making a spell, I can't go make a spell.
Oh, okay.
But if you after you're done, yeah, I can take it up.
Gotcha. I have no idea how to operate this. That's right. I should go level up.
Right.
So tutorial level 1. Learn. Welcome to the leveling menu. So the first.
That's kind of long.
It is, but I read it already, so it's cool. So I'm not going to read it on camera,
Yeah,
but
just
the
give it
first
the TLDR.
tutorial is the longest that I've seen. But it's basically an introduction of how to use things. But you're
Actually,
gonna learn from me.
that's a lie. Blockworks level 6 is a bit longer.
Oh, is it?
Yes, because it has to explain vector products and vector projects.
Okay. Yeah, vector's hard.
Yeah, that's why I call the mod to integrate mathematics to mod.
So we've got in our spell repertoire really only 2 things: selector and trick. So the selector is the caster. It selects the person casting the spell. And then there's a trick. That's something that actually affects something in the world, right? So a selector determines like an object that's being chosen, and a trick is like an effect that occurs in the world.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Like a selector is how you get info in, and a trick is how you make stuff go out.
Gotcha. So I'm going to have trouble with my push to talk key here in a minute, but let's fill in this table, right? So right click opens up the menu that shows you all the spell components that you've got. I'm going to first place in the selector for the caster, and it selects the person casting the spell, so I put that in. Then I right click and I choose trick debug, and all this does is print out whatever is fed into it to the world. Now,
Yeah, that's desyncing.
is it desyncing or?
Yeah, I can't see your spell.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Gotta fix that. Beta!
Bug test. So right now, selector doesn't take any arguments, right? So you don't have to choose anything here on the left.
Oh, selectors never take any arguments.
Right.
They're just how you get info in.
Right. So it's just basically saying, I'm the caster. There's nothing to tell the selector about. But the trick, that does take an argument.
Actually, that's a lie. There are selectors that do, but they're later on.
There you go. See, Vesky's already lying to us.
Yeah, I'm already messing up.
So tricks can affect and do things in the world. In this case, it's just going to print something out to the text box, right? It has to accept a target, and it optionally can accept a number. And you can tell it's optional because there's brackets around that thing on the tooltip. And I'm guessing because there's a dot in the middle of the thing on the left, that's what also indicates.
Yeah, the dot is just the one that has no parameter.
Right, okay.
You can't use the number yet because you haven't unlocked the number constant.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is say that the target for trick debug is to the left, and I do that by clicking on this left arrow. And see how a blue arrow shows up here? So basically it says the selector is the target for the debug trick. It's a good way to phrase it.
Yeah, that works. And you can see the arrows going from the selector to the trick.
Right.
So the info is going from the selector to the trick.
Right.
So you can kind of visualize a flow going on.
Yep. So now, like, when I have the target above, you'll see that, number one, the trick has these little red lines on the bottom. That indicates, like, it's missing something. Something's not right. And on the top left, you'll see that there's an error, and it's not going to let you finish this because a parameter is facing an empty cell, right? So it's not happy. So if I put this to the left, we've got a green check, and we can see the complexity, the potency, the cost, the projection, and the bandwidth. These are all the stats that we're applying to the casting device that we made. So
if you look at the cost, you have some numbers in parentheses. These will all be 0. If you look at the cost, you have numbers in parentheses. The cost is 0 because debug doesn't add any cost; it's free.
Okay.
But the number in parentheses is the actual real cost that you are going to spend for the spell, including your CAD's efficiency.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. So like it would be normally like 100, but it'll be 70 because the efficiency is 70, right?
No, it'll be higher.
Oh, higher. Okay, so it'd be like 130 or something.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Okay, so let's try this out. So you just close the UI, and you'll even see it like up here on the screen, which is cool.
I can't see it because these things.
What if you relog, I wonder?
Yeah, let me try. That should work, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, now it works. I gotta force it back then. If you relog, you should see I have the exact same spell as you.
So force a block update, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
See, look, Dyer has been hanging around.
No, it's not a block update, actually. It's a package. A block update would cause a chunk re-renderer, and that's not needed.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad. You don't want to do that. See, I've kind of been hanging around with you guys.
I remember because I used to do block updates for day blooms, and then everyone was like, oh my god, it's so laggy. Then I realized, oh, I shouldn't be doing that.
All right, so now to write this spell into a device, I have a spell bullet. So I just right-click on the spell programmer with the bullet, and it made a little ding. And you can see this thing now has some info on it. And I can go over to my CAD assembler. I can put the spell casting assistant device in there. What'd I do? Okay. And then put the spell in.
I was just trolling you.
Okay, cool. And then when I hit C, I have the debug spell on the bottom right. So one of the 4 slots has been taken up by that spell bullet, right? And when I right-click, ta-da! I became level 2. Hooray! So to level up,
you use the red spell in the last group you selected.
Right. So for tutorial level 1, we had to use trick debug in our spell.
Yeah,
so as soon as I did that,
for a second, so I can level up as well.
Okay, yeah, you can borrow. So you'll notice that it just wrote out information about the caster into the check slot, right? So what we did is first we selected the caster. So we selected me, Direwolf20, and it recorded some information about me, who I am, where I am in the world, what level I'm in, I guess, and XYZ coordinates. And then it sent that information to the debug command, which wrote it out to the world. Pretty boring so far.
Yeah, it's really just the debug command. It's what you use to test your spells.
This is a tutorial. You're supposed to have the boring, easy stuff out of the way up front, and then you get cool stuff. That's how it works. So now I'm level 2, so I can do cooler stuff. So let's open up tutorial number 2. Learn. So now there's a new parameter we can take a look at, and that is the number constant. Yay! I'm not going to read all that, but basically we want to use number constant in our spell, right? So remember trick debug could accept the number. So when I right click over here, we'll see we've got some connectors, which I'll talk about in a minute, but we've also got the number constant. And I click in here and just hit a number, right? And yeah. So
yeah, just select it and type a number.
Yep. And then we want to connect the trick debug's input parameter to number. And I'm going to actually use the same spell thing. So I'm going to take my spell bullet out of my gun. Is it all right to call it a gun? It looks like a gun.
It looks like a gun, yeah.
Okay, so I can say gun?
Sure.
Okay. I'll right click. So I overwrote the existing spell with this new spell. And now when I come here and use the debug command and right click, you'll notice it put a number 2 in front of the debug command. Cool? Yay. And I also got level 3.
So if you have a bigger spell, give me that. Give me.
Got it.
If you have a, I mean, use it. I'll level up too.
Okay.
But I was saying, if you have a bigger spell and you want to debug multiple things, that's what you can use the numbers for.
Right. Very cool. And I notice I'm getting more psi energy on the right side of my screen.
Yes, as you level up, you unlock more psi energy.
Right. So now I'm going to get level 3, which I think more cool things are happening now, right?
The cool stuff starts at level 3. Now you have tricks that actually let you do stuff. On level 4, you're going to unlock explosions. You can actually look at what you unlock just by hovering over it.
Nice. All right, so let's see. I did do this before, but it was like a few days ago, and now I forget a lot of it. But, so I'm going to clear out the box here. So I'm going to just hit delete on the keyboard, right?
Control-Shift-Delete.
All right, Control-Shift-Delete clears the whole thing. That's cool. All right, so now I want to do a trick that's going to add motion, okay? So the target that I want to add motion to will be the caster.
If you press Shift, you can see the target as an entity.
Right.
And if you press Shift on the selector caster, you'd see it returns an entity.
Right. So you see how like the arrow to the right
up
here, that's the input of this function, the add motion function, right? So one of the first inputs is a target, which is an entity. You'll notice that selector has a left arrow, which means output. It outputs an entity, in this case, a player, right? So basically it's almost like programming, but more UI based, right? So you don't have to do any code, but it's basically saying here's a function and one of the inputs is the target. This is selector caster and his output is an entity. So it matches up, right? So the second thing we need is a direction, which is a vector, which is where things get confusing, right? So we're gonna have to add a vector. So let's say, let's do, the vector we want to use is this one.
Let me come over to you so you can get a very simple explanation of vectors.
Yep. So this entity look gets an entity vector. So you can see it returns a vector and its input is target entity, right? So basically a vector is a direction, right, Basky?
Yeah, it also has the size. If you press F3 plus B, you should see bounding boxes. And when you look at me, you'll see a little blue line coming out of my face.
Correct. Yes.
That's my look vector. That's what you're going to be getting. We're using that trick.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't know about F3B. That's a new one to me. So yes, that's the vector. See how that line is going out of Basky's face and into a certain direction? That's the data that we're about to send to the spell. So basically when we craft the spell, it's going to add motion to my player in the direction that I'm looking. And you'll see that in a second.
Vector is basically just three numbers, right?
Right.
For example, your coordinates X, Y, Z are a vector as well.
Oh, okay.
Because they're three numbers.
Gotcha. So in order for this, we have to get a target entity. So I could, so there's two options here. One, I could choose the selector caster, right? And we would say like this, so that selector caster is the target entity for this. Or if I wanted to, I can delete this and I can show you guys connectors. And connectors are cool. Basically, what they do. My push to talk is not enjoying this.
If you put your key on, if you put your cursor on a number,
yeah,
it'll log out the text box.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And you can't use V, so that should be safe for push talk.
Cool. Can you make it so that just clicking anywhere locks out the text box?
Well, the text box right now has to be selected because the spell actually needs a name.
Right.
If you make a spell without a name, it will just tell you might make a name. So that's why it's always selected.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to explain this without holding push to talk.
Right.
So a connector is basically a way of running a line between two non-adjacent things. So if I wanted to connect operator to this caster, I could place the connector that points up here. And then I'll say this guy is the target. And see how this line goes here? So it's basically like, boom, we just connected that, right? And then this trick, we need a direction, right? So we're going to say the direction of the movement trick we get from the operator entity look. See, direction is a vector. We need a vector. This guy gives us a vector, right? So this guy needs a vector. This guy gives us a vector. But in order to get a vector, we need an entity target. And this guy gives us an entity target. Got it? Good. And then the last thing we need is a speed, which we can use that number constant that we saw before. And I'm going to say a speed of 5. Hopefully that's cool. And I will put the speed up here. Up. Too much potency. Too much potency, Vasky. I try to do movement speed 5. Smaller.
Yeah, that won't do for now. You have to make a better CAD for that.
Correct. So I did that on purpose to demonstrate.
You can use decimals.
You can or you can't use decimal?
You can.
Oh, cool.
So if you want to make it very, very specific, just to the max you can use decimals.
Nice. I'm going to make a new spell bullet.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
what are the different projectile, loop cast, and circle spell bullets, or do we get to those later?
I'll explain you to those in a moment because they are part of the tutorial.
Okay, cool. So let's get this and see if I made the spell correctly.
If you look right below the 101s, you have alternative casting.
Oh, okay.
That's where you learn about the other ones.
Cool. So now I can choose movement as an option or debug. So I can still cast my debug spell because it's one of the ones I've got, and now I have a movement spell. Boing. Nice.
Oh yeah, you're going over your cap. I saw you taking damage there.
Yeah.
But
now it's filling back up. So here's a question.
Oh. Okay.
Is there a way to hide that psi meter?
Not currently, no. Why?
Oh, just curious.
You can move to the left if you want. There's a config for that.
What's that?
You can move it to the left if you want, and if you don't have a CFD on you, it won't show up.
Oh, if I don't have it on me.
No, if you drop it to me, you'll see. You actually should so I can level up. I should have just made my own, resources.
I didn't know that,
There you go.
entity items had a look vector.
Every entity does now.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like
Look at me, entity
vector
items. That was correct, wasn't it?
Yes. The look vector is just based on the pitch and yaw of the entity. That's the rotation.
Nice. Okay, so that is one of our most basic spells that actually does something besides write out to the text box.
I swear to God, this little bit here.
I know, right? You need a chisel. It should be in one of the chests here. There should be a chisel somewhere. Or just craft one. It's like 1 iron. But that's cool, isn't it? So I can add motion to my player. But as you can probably guess, there are other selectors that we can use. So we'll be able to add motion to other things once we unlock more spells. So that's pretty cool. So like I said, we'll have a full-blown tutorial that goes a little bit more in depth. Right now, I'm just trying to show it off a little bit. All right, let's come back in a minute. I'm going to take a break, and we will come back in a few minutes to look more at psi. All right, guys, we are back. Vasky is prepping a more complex spell to demonstrate for us.
But we won't be able to use it this episode, I bet.
Maybe, we'll see.
Yeah, because you are going to need some more complex stuff. Gotcha. And you are going to need a good amount of psi for this, actually. Let me calculate how much you need.
Oh, I get an explode trick. Nice. All right. Oh, error suppressors. Suppresses errors thrown. That's interesting. That's new. That wasn't here before.
You are going to need at least 1200 for this.
For the one you're making?
Yes.
Okay. So right now...
Error suppressor is good because it prevents errors from getting thrown to chat.
Gotcha. So basically, we want to create an explosion where the player is looking. I like that. For this trick, we're going to need trick explode. This takes a vector and a number constant, similar to our trick add motion. This constant is the power of the trick. The vector is where you want the explosion to happen. We already used operator entity look, but that gives us a vector that's very short. If we use that, the explosion would happen in our face. Instead, we want to use operator vector ray trace. This operator takes a position and a ray, both vectors, from a position which will be the player's position, acquirable through entity position, extends array parameter. So basically, we want to use this complex thing called array, which is like a line, right? Basic.
Well, array is like you have, if you look at me again with F3 plus B.
Right, yep.
Right, you can see my blue line.
Right.
Imagine the blue line extends all the way to the chest.
Right.
Right, the ray ends right at the chest. Whereas my blue line runs like one unit in front of me.
Okay.
The blue line is just, it extends it and it ends right over here in the intersection with the chest.
Gotcha.
That's what you want to do. You want to find intersection with a block in the world.
So a position in the world, which is a vector, right?
Yeah, that's like, if you press F3, just you'll see your coordinates, that's your position.
So the vector is basically like where the right in front of ASCII's face, right? And then array is the line going out from his face. Is that correct?
Right. So right now, if you do position, you'll get my coordinates.
Right.
If you do look, you'll get the blue line.
Right.
And if you do the ray trace, given the position and the look, you'd get the coordinate of that chest.
Gotcha. So let's do it. I'm going to do it now. So the trick we want to use is explode, which requires a position, vector, and power. So power is easy, but first we're going to say, so the position is the ray trace, right?
No, position is, there's a operator for entity position. For the ray trace, you pass in the position and the look.
Right, but the trick requires the ray trace, right? So it's explode from
I mean, it doesn't
ray trace.
require, you can make it explode on you if you want.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
You won't take damage. the explosion is centered on your player, so your player is immune from it.
Right. So for the position of the ray trace is the player look, and the ray vector is the block I'm looking at, right?
No, the ray vector is it's just your look basically, and then the ray trace block extends the vector so it finds intersection.
Right.
Starting from your position.
Right. So the position is me, right? Entity position, and the ray is entity look. And I'm not going to give it a max, but a max, I guess, would be the number of blocks away.
Yes, maximum is 32 by default.
Okay. So the position there on the left, and then on the right, we'll have a power, which I'm going to make 4, and we'll see if that's high enough. Oh, my entity, okay, operator, entity position. That requires a target.
My game crashed.
So let's put a, because I think this requires a target as well, right? So I'm going to put over here just to demonstrate more of connectors. It doesn't have to be this big. It shouldn't be, actually, because there's important reasons you want to keep this small. But I want to do the selector caster, right? And we will say that we'll have down, we'll have left, and your target is this guy. And this will be up and left, and your target is this guy. So basically, see how this is going to here and this is going to here? Oh, and my constant number of 4 is way too big for that trick. Is there any way to determine like the potency of the trick and how it modifies sort of just trial and error?
You can just do constant number. It's always a linear progression. So you can do, say, like number 1, and then you realize how much error is per number, and then you can just calculate.
Okay, cool. So basically, we will do an explosion at a position which is determined by a vector raycast. The vector raycast is determined by the current caster's position following the line to the current caster's looking position, right? The block he's looking at. So in theory, this is a valid spell because it's a green check, and I will name it Boom. And I want to make another one of those spell.
I was making a drawing back here to explain ray traces, but then my game crashed when I was looking up shows on bits.
That's what you get. So I should be able to do the boom thing now. Let's see. Boom spell. So this should explode the block I'm looking at. You ready?
Where are you?
It worked.
Cool.
And obviously you can have larger explosions
weak
once you have better guns, right?
Yeah, the weak one.
Oh yeah, the other weak thing is that because it's a weak explosion, so that's the strength of the explosion, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way to get a bigger explosion?
Yeah, just make a bigger number.
Well, I mean like larger radius.
No, it works in a similar manner to how creepers explosions work. Like, if you have a normal creeper, it's 3, but if you have a lightning one, I think it's 12. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. So we can have a stronger explosion, meaning it can affect more powerful blocks, but there's no way currently to make a bigger explosion, like a larger...
No, same thing. It's the same thing. Like, the explosion, imagine it as like a power.
Okay.
And every time it breaks a block, the power gets down.
Oh.
So if you have very weak blocks, it's going to go in a larger radius, and if it has stronger blocks, you can see that with TNT. If you blow up dirt, it goes a lot farther than if you blow up stone.
Gotcha. Okay, so the power metric affects kind of, sort of, both the radius and the power. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So that is the explosion spell. Pretty neat. You'll notice that we have 5 complexity because we've got 5 actions in here. We've got 1 trick, 1 operator vector raycast, 1 operator vector look. So that's 4. That's 5, right? So if we instead had 2 selectors here, because selector casters add a complexity.
Selector casters have 1 complexity, yes.
Right. So notice that if I hadn't done this, is it 1 total? I put 2 selector casters in, and complexity didn't really go up above 6.
Wait, let me just DC for a second.
1,
see
2,
what's
3,
going on.
4, 5. Oh, I know why. Because it's not. This one's not actually connected to anything. So it would have been all right. But notice how by doing it this way, we have less complexity, basically. So using connectors and reusing existing, pieces on the board is better.
Oh, right. I forgot you can't use a search menu. I was going to grab a higher tier CAD to explain this new spell, but yeah, I crashed again.
What'd you do now?
I went to the creative menu and I was gonna grab a creative CAD to show off this spell. Then I crashed.
Gotcha.
Again, same thing.
So I think we'll show off some more spells maybe next episode because it's about wrapping up point. But that is an introduction to Psy. I hope you guys enjoyed checking it out. It's pretty fun in my opinion. I'm blowing
Are you
things
blowing
up.
more stuff up? Yep.
I'm blowing up a few things, yeah. Yeah, I'm having fun blowing it up. And once I have a better attributes on my gun, so when do I learn how to make those ingots?
If you look on your tutorial menu, it's where it says Psymetal Infusion.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. So level 10.
Right.
And I need to have learned, you know, all 3. So now I've got an option. Which of these 3 tutorials I want to go through? Entities, which allows me to, like, you know, choose nearby items, choose nearby living entities, nearby enemies, nearby animals, right? And entity motion, operator, random entity, right? So, or we can do numbers, or we can do additions and subtractions and all kinds of cool stuff. And vectors, all kinds of complex stuff. Vectors is where I got like, my brain stopped working when I got to the vectors tutorial. That's what I need you for, Vasky. Like I got this far in the mod so far, but then I got to vectors and I was like, So you're gonna have to help me a little bit with that one, and that'll definitely be covered in the tutorial. One of the problems with the mod
right now is that it basically depends on you having gone to 10th grade mathematics, which, you know, a lot of people didn't go to like science courses, so they don't know that.
Right. Yeah. No. I fumbled a little bit. I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out, and then hopefully be able to explain it to you guys in a coherent manner. But for now, we have to wrap up. So Daryl20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed checking out Psy. We will be playing a little bit more with it in the very near future. All right, guys. Take it easy.